Good Friday to you. Thanks for joining us on KARE 11 News Now. I'm Chris Harapsky. New this afternoon, the man accused of making violent threats to shoot people at the state capitol now facing a felony charge after his first court appearance. It just happened a little while ago. According to court documents, Jonathan Bone said he wanted to go to the capitol and shoot people and even texted about the threat. That's according to Republican Representative Jim Nash. Of course, tensions are very high right now at the Minnesota State Capitol after the deadly shooting of Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman, her husband Mark, and the shootings of State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette. Lou Raguse was in court for that hearing.
Jonathan Bone is charged with one count of felony threats of violence. Now, we don't have all the details yet because the criminal complaint still has not been technically filed, but I can tell you what we learned in court and from Bone's attorney. The prosecutor in court said that Bone stated he was excited to have his gun at the Capitol and blow someone's effing face off. That's what was said in court today. Now, Bone's attorney, John Lesh, got up and said that that's not including the context that's needed to understand what happened here. He says that Bone was in a political argument with what he describes as a family friend who's on the other side of politics in the state. Bone was grieving the death of his close friends over the weekend with the Hortmans being murdered, and that he made statements that were inappropriate, but as Lesh says, no way conveyed actual intent to harm.
There was a lot of emotion. He's embarrassed. He's contrite. If he was here today, he would apologize to everyone. He would especially apologize to everyone grieving, like he is over his friend Melissa and Mark Hortman, and the things that happened to the Hoffmans. He's embarrassed that we've had to take a pause to do this, and he would say he's culpable for his part in it.
Bone has been a lobbyist at the state capitol for 20 years and is known for people on both sides of the aisle. He advocates for higher education. Lesh says that Bone was speaking in response to a post that mocked his friends and said some things that were inappropriate, but that he did not intend to terrorize or intimidate anyone. So Bone had his family in court today. He had his boss and coworkers in court. He was crying throughout today's hearing. The judge, though, took the threats very seriously. He set bail at $1 million, $1 million bond, so he would have to come up with $100,000 in order to be released from jail, and as this case continues here. So we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Lou. New today, Brooklyn Park Police doing another sweep of the Edinburgh Golf Course, looking for any evidence connected to the deadly shootings of the Hortmans and the break-in at their home after the shooting. Police say they have already presence there all day and that there is no danger to the public. Neighbors, though, still reeling after this weekend's shootings, for the first time coming together to mourn and start healing. Raya Katene was there.
In a room full of neighbors.
No, this is Brooklyn Park. This is family.
The presence of one woman is missed deeply.
As neighbors, we need this because after the fact, when it was all clear, we were in the streets and everybody has a story to tell about her.
She was a giant at the state, but she wasn't just a legislator. She was a wife. She was a mother. She was your neighbor.
To know Melissa Hortman is to know her love for her community. Just ask those who live there, side by side in their neighborhood and side by side here, gathering at the neighborhood golf course less than a mile away from Melissa and Mark's home.
We raised our kids together. Where you're grieving that way, we're grieving a whole different way. This was a family member to us.
Through custom shirts, buttons, and yard signs, Cindy Hill is honoring her neighbor and friend of 15 years.
So this was the least that I can do is say, I miss you, I love you.
Sharing the love and sharing grief as the Brooklyn Park mayor, council members, and police force acknowledge the tragedy that unfolded in their cities.
First off, I just want to publicly express my condolences to the Hortmans and their family. Could not imagine what they're going through right now.
In a room full of neighbors,
we had some great times together.
One woman is missing, but her strength lives on.
We know this was a tragedy, but we're going to make sure that her family and the children know we love her and we're here for her. We are Brooklyn strong.
Raya Katene reporting there. There's yet another community event tonight. The cities of Brooklyn Park and Champlin say it's going to be a space for updates and for healing. It starts at 5:30 p.m. at Champlin Park High School. We have some good news from the Hoffman family. We're learning Senator John Hoffman's wife, Yvette, is now out of the hospital. The state senator listed in serious but stable condition. In a new statement from the family, they say, quote, "We are grappling with the reality that we live in a world where public service carries such risks. As a society, as a nation, as a community, we must work together to return to a level of civility that allows us to all live peacefully. We'll be praying for that work and appreciate all those who will join with us," end quote. You can read the entire statement from the Hoffmans. It's over at KARE11.com. New today, the Minnesota BCA is identifying the man who was shot by police while holding a chainsaw and 5 officers who used force during that incident. Police say the man is 23 years old and is still in the hospital right now in stable condition. According to police, 2 Brooklyn Center officers actually fired their weapons. Both are on critical incident leave right now. The other 3 officers from Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, and Crystal all used less lethal rounds. BCA investigators say they recovered a chainsaw and spent shell casings from the scene, and that officers were wearing body cameras during that shooting. They are reviewing that footage as we speak. Developing right now, a man is dead and another is hurt after a shooting in downtown Minneapolis. Police say this happened near 14th and Nicollet in the Loring Park neighborhood. Investigators say they responded to the scene just after midnight after a shot spotter activation. Arriving officers found the 2 men had been shot. Emergency crews rushed one of them to the hospital and tried to save the other's life, but he died on scene. Police are trying to figure out what led up to that shooting, and no one yet has been arrested. Even more safety measures are coming to Boom Island following the deadly shooting there earlier this month. Minneapolis Parks and Rec will close the public parking lots at 9 p.m. Attendance will be assigned for events and picnics with permits until 10 p.m. A mobile camera is now installed there, and additional park police will also be there from 8 o'clock until midnight through Sunday. Brand new video today showing the crater left behind by an Iranian airstrike in southern Israel. This blast making a gigantic hole in the ground there, as you can see, and damaging several residential buildings nearby. Today marks 1 week of the war between the 2 countries, and the world is watching to see how the U.S. will react. Israel's military said it targeted areas in western Iran, while a building was hit in the southern Israeli city of Beersheba. NBC's Matt Bradley has the latest from Tel Aviv.
So we just heard the first siren that Tel Aviv has had in more than the past 24 hours. I don't know if you can still hear. There are emergency vehicles now are circulating here. According to police here in Tel Aviv, there has been no direct impacts that have been seen so far from that missile salvo, though it sounds as though the police have seen fragments from interceptions that have fallen. It does sound as though the bulk of the missiles were fired at the northern and central parts of Israel. Now, we understand that 2 people have been seriously wounded in the northern Israeli city of Haifa, and that there were direct impacts, according to emergency services, on about 6 different parts of the middle and north of the country. Now, all of this follows as the Israelis are continuing their attacks against targets in Iran. Now, they say that they've been taking out a lot of missile launcher sites. And we heard this from the Israelis yesterday. The Israeli military said that they had taken out about 200 missile launchers. They said that that's about 2/3 of the total that the Iranians have been used to fire these ballistic missiles at Israel. Now, that stands to reason as we're starting to seeing a decrease in the number of projectiles inside of each salvo. But all of this is going on as European diplomats are heading to Geneva to meet with their counterpart from Iran, the foreign minister. There, they're going to try to see if there's any room left to negotiate an end to Iran's nuclear weapons program.
Because of the conflict, airspace over Israel is shut down, leaving an Edina man and his partner stranded there. Joe McCoy talked with him about what he's experiencing and when he might be able to get home.
I've never been under bombardment by rocket before.
When John Skoll and his partner Jean traveled to Israel this month for a wedding, they were scheduled to return to Minnesota on the 16th.
And on the 16th, of course, Ben Gurion Airport was shut, and it is shut. and so our flight was canceled.
Israel is under ballistic missile attacks by Iran after Israel launched attacks against Iran's nuclear facilities and top military generals. Skol, who lives in Edina, is now caught in the crossfire in a town called Ramat HaSharon, near the city of Herzliya.
Had a rocket hit here in the vicinity last night, actually. You could hear a distant explosion.
Skol says the relatives they are staying with have a bomb shelter in their basement, which he says they have to go to 1 to 3 times a night. They are notified of incoming missiles through alerts on their phone that go out 15 minutes before potential impact.
Right now, the airspace of Israel is closed, but we are hopeful that in the upcoming days, we'll be able to open it at least for some flights.
Yinam Cohen is the Consul General of Israel to the Midwest. He says some Americans have already left Israel by driving to Amman, Jordan, and taking a flight from there. For Skol, that would be a 2-hour drive.
Getting to Amman is, as you might imagine, is not exactly like taking a taxi to MSP.
Skol says he is less fearful than you might think because of their relative's bomb shelter. They are able to go outside during the day, but always remain within 15 minutes of the home.
I don't think anyone can tell you with any certainty what will happen. All you can do is live from day to day.
Joe McCoy reporting there. Also developing right now, Canada is retaliating against some U.S. trade policies. In about a month, the country will impose new tariff rate quotas on U.S. steel, a move that can make American-made steel less appealing to Canadian buyers. Right now, U.S. duties on Canadian steel and aluminum is at 50%. But the two nations are working on reaching a trade agreement in 30 days. A pause on the president's so-called reciprocal duties is set to end July 9th. Stick with us. We got more news, more weather coming up after the break.